Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. The translation, it reads like this. Hello, how are you? Can you please post my own story? I see it in identity. I want to tell you exactly what happened by the time that I had my sister killed, simply because I wanted to punish her, and besides, her husband, I loved her husband. So this is how I had my half-sister killed, so that I can steal her husband. My name is Tsitsi, not a real name, and I have a confession to make, one that has been eating away at me for years and years. Though I have tried to convince myself that I feel no guilt, I am a strong woman. My half-sister, Linda, not a real name, was the perfect woman in everyone's eyes, kind, beautiful, loved by everyone. But I hated her. I hated her from the day that I realized that she had that I did not have. And in the end, I did the unthinkable. I had her killed because I wanted her life. More specifically, I wanted her husband. We did not grow up together. Linda and I, we were half-sisters, born of the same father but different mothers. Our father was a man who had never stayed faithful to anyone for too long. He had me and he had my sister, but somehow Linda's family always seemed better in the eyes of everyone who knew us. She lived in the city with our father, whilst my mom and I lived in the rural areas here in Rusape. Linda had everything: a good education, nice clothes, and all the love and attention from our father. I had nothing but the scraps that we could only get whenever you would think about visiting us. Even though we did not live together, Linda always tried to be kind to me. When she would visit us during schooling holidays, she would bring me gifts, always smiling, always trying to connect with me, but I could not stand it. Her kindness felt like pity. Every time that she handed me something, a pretty dress or a doll she no longer wanted, it reminded me of everything that she had that I did not. I was the forgotten child, the one that our father did not care about. And Linda was the golden girl. No matter how hard I tried to ignore it, the resentment grew inside of me like a fire that I could not put out. I know it sounds petty. How can I hate someone who was always kind to me? But you do not understand. Linda's very existence was a constant reminder of my rejection. Whenever she smiled at me with those perfect eyes, whenever she spoke softly like a lady, I could feel my blood boiling. She was not just better than me, she was everything that I could never be. And worst of all, she was really beautiful like her mom. As we grew older, our lives became so different. Linda married a man whom I'll call Tawanda, a handsome, successful businessman. They had met in Harare, and it did not take long for him to fall in love with her. Why wouldn't he? She was perfect. I attended their wedding, forced to smile, to be part of the wedding, to congratulate them. But inside, I was seething in pain. All that I could think about was how unfair it was. Why did she get the perfect life, the perfect husband, whilst I was stuck living in a tiny house in the village with a mother who could not even afford to send me to university? As for Tawanda, he was everything that I had ever wanted in a man. He was charming, always attentive to my half-sister, and wealthy, and I could not even help but wonder what it would be like if he had chosen me instead of her. If I had been born in Linda's place, I would be the one that would be living in luxury with a man like my brother-in-law by my side. Every time whenever I would visit them in Harare, I felt more hatred towards Linda. She was always so polite, so sweet, but it was all fake to me. I started to think that maybe she was rubbing a perfect life in my face on purpose. She had no idea how lucky she was, and I hated her for it. I hated how happy she was with her husband. I hated the way that he looked at her like she was the only woman in the world. Then one day, something inside of me snapped. It was during one of my visits to their house. So Linda was in the kitchen She was humming some stupid song as she prepared dinner for her beloved husband. I was sitting on the couch with my brother-in-law, watching him flip through his phone. Then he smiled at me briefly, a friendly smile, but that was all it took for me to start imagining what it would be like if Linda was not in the picture. What if he was going to be mine? What if I did not have to live in her shadow anymore? The thought stuck with me, growing stronger each day. I knew that it was wrong, but I could not help it. I started to think about how I could get rid of Linda. I knew that I could not compete with her when it came to beauty because she was really, really beautiful, like extra beautiful. And I started thinking about ways, not directly, she was too perfect. But what if I did not have to compete at all? What if Linda was gone? That was when I started thinking about the only solution that made sense to me, getting rid of her for good. And I knew that there was a person back in Rusape who could help me. Whilst I was still in Harare, what I started to do was that as for her and her husband, I started acting as if I was really happy, helping them out, and she was even shocked because she knew that I was someone who was really stubborn. Whenever her husband was washing the car, I would go outside and I would say, Uncle, let me help her, meaning brother-in-law, let me assist you. And then I will start to help him clean his car. But when I was busy helping him to clean his car, I would make sure that I would reveal sometimes my thighs, even my breast, as if I was not seeing the things that I was doing. As for her husband, I saw that little by little, he kept on looking at me. And when I saw that I was now getting his attention, then I started to wear these mini skirts and always wearing clothes that were too revealing. Sometimes when my sister would say that she wants to go to the shops, I will quickly go and I would sit on my brother-in-law's lap and playing games with him. And that was when I returned back to the village. Once the thought of getting rid of Linda had entered into my mind, it consumed me. I could not stop thinking about it. Everywhere I went, I saw her face, her smile, a perfect life with my brother-in-law, and it only made my hatred grow stronger towards her. I started to believe that the only way that I could ever be happy was if she was gone, if I could take her place, but I was not going to get my hands dirty. No, I was not that stupid. I was not going to take a knife and to murder her. I wanted something that was spiritual. That was when I was in the village. In our village, there was a man who was a traditional healer. I went to him for he was not just your normal traditional healer. That man, he will do anything that you wanted him to do for you. Even though I had never considered going to him before, I was always scared of people that practice witchcraft and dark rituals. One afternoon, I made up my mind, and that was when I went to his compound. As I approached him, I really felt guilty because of the things that I was about to do. He was in his heart, which was small and dirty, and I got into his mud hut, and he was like, you are here, my daughter. What brings you here? I hesitated for a moment and I said, I need help, Sekuru. I want someone gone. He did not react. He did not seem surprised. He simply nodded and smiled at me. And he said, you want me to help you? Have you ever made love to a man before? He smiled at me wickedly. And I was like, no, I am keeping it for someone. And he said, who are you keeping it for? I told him, but I lied to him. And he told me that he knew that I wanted to sleep with my brother-in-law. He said, since you have not slept with a man before, I am going to let you keep it for him, but after you have slept with him, I want you to come back to me because you owe me, woman. You are supposed to sleep with me because I am going to help you. And then at that time, that was when he said that it can be done, anything that I wanted, but I was supposed to remember that I owed him. I was supposed to come back and to spend a night with him in his shrine. So I expected that, and I had brought a bag of money with me, knowing that he was not going to work for free. And then he said, you know, girl, you are the most beautiful woman that I have ever seen. Then said, if I am that beautiful, how come I have not yet managed to get a good man like my sister's husband? And she said that you need to make sure that we perform this ritual and you are going to get any man that you want, but there is something that I need to do with your private parts. And he then asked me if I was okay, if I was not on my periods, for he said the rituals that we are about to perform, they can only be performed when a woman is not on her menstrual cycle. And I assured him and I said it was okay. He then gave me a piece of cloth and he told me to wipe my private parts, so I did. And he told me to remove my skirt, so I did. And he made me to lie on this reed mat. He came and he knelt down right next to me, and he kept on commenting about my private part, saying that it seemed as if it was a good cookie that tasted really nice and he could not wait to taste it. So he did what he did on my private parts, and then he said that the moment that my brother-in-law was going to sleep with me, my brother-in-law was going to be mine for good. I left his mad heart with strange sense of satisfaction. I had done it. I had set the plan in motion. All that was needed now was to get the items that he asked for. The next time that I visited Linda and my brother-in-law in Harare, I made sure to be extra nice to her. I smiled, helped her with dinner, complimenting her on her beautiful home. She was always so trusting, so naive. She had no idea what I was planning when she was not looking. I took some of her hair from the hairbrush in the bathroom and I swiped one of her, and I stole one of her scarves from her wardrobe. I took her toothbrush and I swiped it underneath my armpit and returned it back where I had stolen it. It was easier than I thought it would be. She never suspected a thing. A week later, I returned back to Rusape, and then the traditional healer took everything. Then he started to mix the hair with some charms as well as the scarf, and I was told that I was supposed to return these items back. So I returned back the scarf the next time when I was in Harare. That was when my sister got so sick. When she got so sick, the doctors could not even know what was wrong with her. Then there was this other day when my sister was sick. She had been admitted in the hospital, and I still remember it was on a rainy night when my brother-in-law came into the spare bedroom where I was and told me that he was feeling lonely, and I invited him into the bed. And when we started kissing and touching each other, I informed him that since I had never slept with a man before, if he was going to sleep with me, then he was supposed to take me as his second wife. He gladly agreed, and he said that he had been disappointed when they were on their honeymoon, the moment that he found out that my sister was no longer a virgin. So it always broke his heart, even though he still loved my sister. I took that opportunity to say bad stuff about my sister, about how she would come to the village and sleep with men around the village, and there was no way he was going to find her as a virgin. He slept with me, and after that he was like, wow, so you have been keeping yourself. I should have married you from the moment that your sister introduced me to you. We slept together, and then my sister passed away. This was 2 weeks later on. Kept on dating my brother-in-law. In time, that was when he sent his uncles to inform my relatives that he wanted to take me as his wife, and I agreed, even though we knew that we had been sleeping with each other from the night that my sister got admitted into the hospital. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. That was the translation of the message that was sent to me. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world.